Greetings and welcome to episode 257 of the Words About Games podcast, the weekly news and culture discussion podcast for Words About Games. I'm your host, Amy Kate Alexander. I redeemed myself by getting the intro right. You had to go do that. Damn it. You awesome. Yeah. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, joined this week by David Moody.
Diddly do, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else. I hope everyone is having a great week because it is Friday. And Ubisoft did something. And you know what that means.
Ubisoft are in the news. You know what that means.
Yeah. And then he's drinking a nice fine sherry Fanta or something.
It's orange juice, and I came prepared.
She's got double doses. Which one's got the alcohol in? No, this one's good.
No, it's just orange juice. Yeah, no, it's Mass Effect week. That's what it's felt like. It's been anyway.
Mass Effect. I think it's just fair to just say Commander Shepard.
I watched it. Well, you know when you were streaming and you said it, and then I said it, and then I went, I gotta go and watch this now. Watch the video.
After I finished streaming, I did as well. So
yeah, that's fair. Like, it's good. Like, ignore everything I said at the end of the last week's podcast. As soon as I watched the Moody, I'm gonna be straight with you and everybody watching this podcast. You know the beginning of Mass Effect 1. You've just played it twice. Like the start bit where it's like the music swells and the Normandy is gonna fly through the mass relay and Shepard's walking through and there's the voiceovers. I cried a little bit.
Tears up,
I did. I was like, oh, when you were talking about like, it feels like coming home, and I was just like, yeah, cool, like that's great for you. And I was like, and then I started playing Mass Effect 1, and I was like, it really does. Oh my god, it really does.
You're like, I'm coming home.
And then I was like, I have to get through this first game, and then I get to the really good
first
stuff.
game is still great.
I like the story, I like the writing. I have some significant issues with the gameplay, but I just turned it down to casual and bought the Spectre weapons.
As soon as you could.
And the game becomes hilarious. Like, the combat in the game then becomes hilariously trivial.
It really does, yeah. That's what I'm waiting to get. I think I actually should have enough money to buy one now, so I think I will probably get one.
Like, I think I had like 3 million credits going into the last mission, and I just spent it on I kitted my entire squad out with Spectre weapons, and it's just like the Geoff might as well not have even been there.
Yeah. Geoff, it is
fine.
Done to leave.
Because I'm not there for that. Like, I'm there for the writing and the story.
Yeah.
Because there's some fucking amazing writing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to gameplay, then that's when we're talking about Mass Effect 2. And I'm just like, oh yeah. Now we're speaking the same language.
The complete version, yes. I will always agree that Mass Effect 2 is the overall complete package.
Yes.
I will agree with that. But no.
Like,
I think what they...
Sorry,
go on.
No, go on.
No. I was going to say, because we don't want to get fully into it, because we're going to do our own video personally and everything like that, have a proper good discussion about each game. But I think they fine-tuned the combat to a good level. I think it's still not as good as what 2 and 3 is. I don't deny that, but yeah, I do feel it does work. It flows and it's a lot more better.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I was about to dive into my thoughts on it, and I was like, that's probably too in depth.
Yeah, it's too in depth
for the intro of the Words About Games podcast. But it's like, I've got nothing else to talk about, really. I've literally done barely anything else this week. To my detriment. I have basically played Mass Effect, like, as much as possible.
Some would say that's time well spent, Amy.
I can't disagree.
Yeah.
I finished Mass Effect 1 and immediately started playing Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
And wow, that first 10 minutes is Something
Yeah.
else. Holy shit.
I won't lie, we're getting really into it. Like, this is just going to turn the Mass Effect stream. We're going to forget about the
We're
rest of
gonna
the
do.
stories.
Oh shit!
and
We've
we don't
already
need
done. We've
that.
already done the retrospective, but we don't have a
Yeah,
podcast for this
so
week now. Oh bollocks!
so we better stop that.
So this isn't our Mass Effect discussion slash retrospective series.
Review
That's
that we're
coming
gonna
later
have.
this summer.
Yeah.
This is the Words About Games podcast, and in this week's episode, we discuss how much Ubisoft hasn't changed following last year's abuse allegations, IGN's news post of links to charities helping Palestinian civilians being removed, more E3 and Summer Game Festival news, and other stuff too. There's timestamps, not tamps, I don't know what that is. There's timestamps in the description below the video on YouTube. They're also in the description of wherever you get your podcasts from. We're available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Caster. I got an email to say we're available on Pocket Caster the other day. I think that's what it's called. And there's like a couple other ones. But wherever you want to listen or watch, that's fine. If you're watching, yes, I am using the correct colored podcast background this week. I noticed that this morning. Yeah, I already apologized for last week's podcast being a shit. I don't know what was going on with me on last Thursday night when we recorded the podcast. I had a fucking nightmare. But I said this week was going to be better, and it already is, because I would have gotten through that entire intro if Moody hadn't have headbanged his headphones off his head. Extenuating circumstances. Oh, it's Jory LaForge. Or an advert for Razer, I can't tell.
Great. Oh, they're good headphones. They're comfy. They're snuggly.
Wait, are we being sponsored?
Oh.
God
But
damn.
Razer, our DMs are always open.
I mean,
our price is not high.
our price is not high. But what I would say is probably give it like 10, 15 minutes on the video. Just see what we're all about before you decide if you want to sponsor this podcast or not.
Just skip the first story.
And the second one.
Okay.
But we're not going to skip the first story. We're going to read the first story. Or more specifically, I'm going to read the first story. Which is Ubisoft has reportedly made minimal changes following abuse allegations. This is from Marie DeLisandri over at gamesindustry.biz, who writes, Ubisoft is not out of the woods yet following the numerous allegations of harassment and sexual misconduct at the company that emerged last year. An investigation by French publication Le Telegram, published in early May, revealed that a first wave of legal proceedings was due to start this month in relation to the harassment cases. The collective action is led by Solidaires Informatique Jeux Video. Sorry, I don't have a French accent. A games workers union that had previously called for testimonies to build a case against Ubisoft. Since the wave of accusations targeting Ubisoft's toxic culture, which also pointed at serious dysfunction in its HR departments, the company has attempted to make changes, but the impact of these changes seems to have been minimal so far, the publication reported. Director of HR Cecile Cornet, I'm going to guess, who stepped down following the accusations alongside other Ubisoft executives in July 2020, has only just left the company and is being replaced by Chief People Officer Annika Grant, who's previously spent 3 years at Uber. Ubisoft had previously appointed Rashi Sika as VP of Global Diversity and Inclusion, who also came from Uber. But an elected representative from Ubisoft's Social and Economic Committee said they don't, quote, expect anything to come out of these appointments, end quote, as the HR staff who covered the harassment issues are still in possession. Some of the men at the heart of the harassment accusations are also still in their jobs, such as Florent Castelnerac, who heads Ubisoft-owned Nadeo and who was accused of harassment by a dozen employees. A union representative said management is, quote, protecting him, end quote. Or Ubisoft Singapore director Hugues Ricoeur, I remember that name from last year, who stepped down in November but still works at Ubisoft in a different role according to his LinkedIn profile. In Canada, quote, nothing has changed, end quote, since the appointment of Christophe Dorenes, who happens to be Yves Gilmour's cousin, in July 2020, a source told The Telegram. What's more, new harassment cases have been reported since, but those who reported the issues were sidelined in December 2020. Initiatives were put forward by employees groups to try and help solve the crisis, including measures of positive action to make sure more women were hired at Ubisoft, but the idea was not addressed by management. Among the changes made at the company, the firm has recently reworked its code of conduct, which until now didn't mention harassment as a non-negotiable interdiction, according to an elected representative of the Game Workers Union STJV. The new version will be published this summer. 20,000 staff members have had half-day training following the crisis, with managers given more advanced sessions focusing on accountability. Quote, "We perceive a desire from management to leave the crisis from summer 2020 behind as it represents a risk for the group's durability, but training must be renewed regularly and offered to new staff. For now, this request has not been addressed," end quote, said a source. That was the full story from gamesindustry.biz. But there's more, because there was an update. A Ubisoft representative responded to a request for comment saying, quote, "Over a period of several months, Ubisoft has implemented major changes across its organisation, internal processes and procedures in order to guarantee a safe, inclusive and respectful working environment for all team members," end quote. The representative listed a number of actions the publisher has taken, from external investigations of all allegations to anonymous reporting tools and mandatory training on appropriate workplace culture. They also pointed to the company's revamped code of conduct, the hirings of Grant and Sika, as well as the appointment of Lidwine Sauer as head of workplace culture. Quote, "These concrete actions demonstrate the profound changes that have taken place at every level of the company," the representative said. "Additional initiatives are underway and being rolled out over the coming months. We are committed to strengthening our culture and values in the long term to ensure every team member at Ubisoft is heard, respected, and valued in the workplace." End quote. It's a lot of words.
A lot of words indeed. A lot of words. I'm just going to say our quote of all the time. If it's not, are we surprised? No, we are not surprised here, because the guy who is still in charge of Ubisoft is still there himself, who has blatantly avoided questions to ask, or been asking, how much did you know? Did you know anything? And other stuff, and he's blatantly avoided them. So he obviously knows stuff, and we all know this. The top person is still there, who has basically sacked people. He moved for, he got rid of certain people, got left, quote unquote left.
Some people were allowed to just
with
leave.
A probably nice. Go on.
Some people were allowed to just quit. Like,
yeah. Probably with a nice severance pay still, even though they quit and everything like that. But also, there's like, we also know that people who, the people who left, those are the people that we knew about, who have been in the face of, like, on E3s, and people who have interviewed, who we've seen them being interviewed and everything like that. But people like behind the scenes who we don't know much, who we know nothing about, all they've done has been moved about. It sucks. Ubisoft, you've done nothing, and you think it's okay to do nothing.
Everybody had a half day of training, Moody. It's fine.
I'll get onto that next. And you give your people a half-day flipping piece of training. Like, seriously. Come on, Ubisoft. This is disgusting. You are one of the biggest companies out there. And you can't sort this. You can't put in. You see, you put in new things into placements to make sure that people feel respected, heard, and valued, and everything like that. Well, this says you haven't really done nothing, mate. So what the hell?
I can answer that. What the hell?
Go on.
If you'll allow me. It's going to be long. No, don't mute yourself. This is an interactive presentation. So don't mute yourself. You say what the hell? I say, like, why haven't they changed anything? And I answer that with, why should they? Who cares? And I say that on a grander scale. You care. I care. There are plenty of people out there who do care that this was a thing.
People who were sexually harassed, insulted, and everything like that.
People were sexually abused. People were abused in general. Women were harassed. Continue to be abused and harassed, according to this report. At least right up until December 2020, which was well after the publication of all the allegations. But who cares? Because from what I saw, last year and in the first 5 months of this year, nobody who can hold Ubisoft to account. I'll rephrase that. Very few people with the power and platform to hold Ubisoft to account don't give a shit because they're not doing anything about it, and they've refused to do anything about it. Am I wrong? Like, all of this disappeared the second Assassin's Creed came up.
You are incredibly correct there. I would say even before that, because they got Watch Dogs out, yeah, Assassin's Creed out, and then they had
that other one,
that Phoenix one that came out literally back to back to back. They took October, they took November, and they took December. They shut everything up within a 3-month period by dropping 3 games.
Well, yeah, it goes before that as well, because when I vividly remember the news happened, we talked about it on the podcast, obviously. Some other people talked about it, some outlets talked about it, and then I don't remember the timeline. It wasn't that long after Assassin's Creed previews started happening, Watch Dogs previews started happening, and a vast majority of people just shut up about it, including people who allegedly, I can't say that word with a straight face. Thanks, Keith. According to people who, like, in their own mission statements or in their own words, claim to care about stuff like this, just moved on from talking about this and trying to hold Ubisoft to account to breathlessly praising Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs in previews, and then later just covering the reviews without mention of any of this. So I go back to that by saying Ubisoft haven't changed anything, because from their perspective, what do they need to change?
Yeah. Like, were you like us, a small little podcast, because literally say we're not playing any of their games because we don't want to support this type of company or anything like that. That's nothing compared for them. It's nothing. This needs to go to the big boys here, and I know we have a story about them next and everything like that. But I'll call them out. IGNs, the GameSpots, the Eurogamers, the Kotakus, and all those big sites, the Kind of Funnies, and everything like that. All the big sites who talk about the video games and get their codes from them for free so they can talk about their games and everything like that. You need to all come together and literally make a stand saying no. But you're not going to do that, because that impacts you on making a profit and everything like that. Even though it really shouldn't, because there are hundreds of games that come out each year.
I know, right?
Hundreds of bloody games that come out each year. And Ubisoft really only drop, maximum 5 a year? Give or take, depending on the year?
I mean, like, let's break it down here. We did, last year, a weekly review podcast. Now it's 2 weekly. Yeah. Like, I didn't play any Ubisoft games.
Yeah, I did.
Both on principle of this stuff, but also because, look, I'm sick of them anyway, right? Like, I didn't really want to play them either way. Like, I don't want to say that this led me to not play Ubisoft games, because there was a high chance that I wasn't going to play them anyway, so I don't want to be disingenuous, but this definitely solidified it. But what I will say is, it affected my output in no way, because there are other games and I just played them instead. Yeah. Wild how that works. Mm-hmm. But, like, you don't even have to say no. You just have to hold them to account. Like, if you want to, as an outlet or as a website or as a content creator, if you want to keep playing Ubisoft games, old Ubisoft games, new Ubisoft games, whatever, go for it. I talked about this on the podcast. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, where I was saying you can have both of those things in your head at once. It's not hard. Like, yeah. I am playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it is very good for this reason and this reason and this reason, and here are some things I don't like about it. And then you just have to flip on the other side. Also, Ubisoft, the company itself, is embroiled in all of this stuff, and they have done nothing to change it. Because, like, you see some defenses of this. Oh, he's supporting the developers, not necessarily the company, which I get. I like to support the developers too. I believe that there are thousands upon thousands of incredibly talented and brilliant people who work at Ubisoft to make these games. But it doesn't serve them in the slightest to brush aside these issues. in favor of just talking about the games. Like, if you really want to support those people, some of whom have probably been abused at the workplace, you need to do both. Not just, hey, your game that you made was great, but also talk about the abuses and also try to hold Ubisoft to account. Because small podcasts like us can't do that in any way.
Yeah.
All they do is they stop emailing you. Trust me, first-hand knowledge. So that's what they do. They just stop emailing you. It's kind of good, actually. I kind of like it. Less emails. Less clutter in my inbox.
Mm-hmm. But like, what you're saying though is spot on. But at the same time, like, it only happens as if the big boys start talking about it, and they don't. IGN they rarely talk about a difficult story about a developer. It is a rarity that happens. That's how it is when it comes to that company, and even GameSpot are very much limited to it as well. It's only like Games.biz or Bloomberg, and 9 times out of 10 it's Jason Bloody Scheider who really reels it. Or even I know Eurogamer Laura, can't remember her name, from Eurogamer, isn't it?
Liana?
Who got crapped on by
Game Informer.
Yeah. Oh, am I thinking Game Informer? I apologize there. Yeah, she drops some really good stuff and everything like that. But and I know there's other people left like those ones off the top of my head and everything. But like,
yeah, we're going to talk about
small
some
amount
of
of people. There's a small bunch of people when an entire collective of journalisms, we've all come together to literally stop this. Could literally call them out and literally say, yeah, we're going to review a game, but we are going to literally put this little thing at the end of each review, and even at the beginning and at the end of each review.
There is a small pool of people, not necessarily even outlets, it's just people who try their best to try and hold the industry to some kind of account. Like Liana, like Imran, like Becca, and like Jason Schreier. And there are a lot more people, some of whom are even more who are even bigger and even more recognizable in terms of like who they are, who don't. But then there's this third group of people, Moody, and it's the third group of people that really piss me off. And I'm not going to name any names. It's the group of people who say they want to make things better, and say they want to listen, and say they want to do better, and then miss 95% of the opportunities to actually do any of those things in favor of hyping up some fucking game or reviewing some fucking game. And it's like, do both. If you want to do better, do better. Don't just talk about doing better. Actually do better. And that's my message to that third group of people. They're the ones that annoy me the most. It's like someone was asking me about someone was talking to me about my Twitter account not that long ago, talking about how I go in on Keir Starmer and the Labour Party a lot on Twitter and very rarely go in against Boris Johnson and the Conservatives. And that's because I don't expect good things from the Conservatives, but I expect good things from Labour.
I agree.
And they piss me off more. Like the people and content creators and outlets and whoever else who I don't expect this from, right? Like, I wish they would, but I just don't expect it from them. I'm not going to talk about them very much because I don't really think about them all that much. Like, it'd be great if they would actually give a shit, but they don't. But there's people who say they want to give a shit and don't. They're the people who annoy me the most.
Huh.
And then there's Ubisoft. I suppose they annoy me the most. The people actually doing the bad things annoy me the most. The most.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a shame that all those incredible people who work there just get absolutely crapped on by a company of higher ups and management and HR who will not help them.
And HR will not help them at all.
And it's a shame.
It's a shame, and we need to make noise and do something about it. And why am I'm trying to get on YouTube, and it's like, you need to agree to some new stuff, and it's like, okay, fine, fuck you, shut up.
I don't want to agree to this.
I'm not agreeing to stuff. It's like I'm looking on a YouTube page now of like podcasts and whatnot, and I'm seeing headlines like, because the story we're talking about is 2 days old, right? Came out on Tuesday, so 3 days old when you watch this, and there's just no mention of it anywhere.
Oh, what, by the big boys?
By the big boys. Lots of hype about games. Lots of talking about Starfield. An unnecessary amount. One might say an unnecessary amount of talk about Starfield. And now we're going to do something really funny on this podcast. Because, for whatever reason, my man wants to video chat with me even though I'm podcasting. Hello, you're on a podcast. How's it going?
Are you alright?
Yeah, fine. Kind of busy though, doing a podcast right now.
Lovely. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm sure I will.
To say hello.
Hello, I'm gonna go now.
And I'm going now.
Have a lovely time on holiday. Bye. Hello, Moody.
Hello. That's never happened before.
No. This is like the one podcast where they haven't been here. and I've done this every week for how many weeks?
You know one thing? Well, I'll say this. I can't wait for Monday, Amy, because that means we're going to get one hell of an episode from Jim Sterling.
We are, yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Their last episode was really good.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm drinking this like it's actually got alcohol in it, but I promise you it doesn't. It is just orange juice. And then I'll get the second one, because I knew I was going to drink that quickly. Let's move on. After that impromptu phone call from my parents, IGN staff pissed after meeting about deleted Palestine charity posts. This is from Patrick Klepper. It's happening again. That phone call's throwing me off. Okay. Reset.
Breathe.
This is from Patrick Klepek over at Vice Waypoint. He writes, around lunchtime last Friday, one of the largest and most influential gaming websites, IGN, published an article called How to Help Palestinian Civilians. The article noted Palestinian civilians are currently suffering in great numbers in Jerusalem, Gaza, and West Bank due to Israeli forces. It was a short post in line with similar articles IGN has done in the last year to raise awareness for Black Lives Matter, COVID-19, Asian American hate crimes, and more. Similar articles also quickly appeared at both Game Informer and GameSpot. Over the past weekend, the IGN article and its corresponding tweet were quietly deleted. The same fate soon followed for Game Informer's article. It's rare for publications to remove articles without making note of the change, but both were removed without any notice or announcement or update. They just disappeared. GameSpot, however, has stayed up. IGN and its parent company, J2 Global, did not respond to a request for comment about the weekend's events, nor did Game Informer's parent company, GameStop. Speculation and conspiracy theories broke in the absence of a real explanation, only aided by the lack of commentary by IGN's typically chatty and very online editorial staff. IGN broke its silence at 2:20 a.m. Eastern Time Monday, releasing a statement that said, quote, by highlighting one population, the post mistakenly left the impression that we were politically aligned with one side, and it was not our intention, and we sincerely regret the error, end quote. What stuck out in IGN's statement, beyond walking back its previously noteworthy support of Palestinians in the wake of the latest Israeli militaristic aggression that has so far killed 198 people and injured 1,300 more, was the word we. Who was the we in this scenario? Editorial? Management? Did the same editorial staff that proudly pushed for the original blog and changed the header of the IGN website to include the Palestinian flag suddenly decide it was a mistake? Crucially, no one from IGN editorial signed off on or was involved in the sharing of the statement on social media, Waypoint has learned. 3 IGN employees who asked to remain anonymous to avoid putting their jobs in jeopardy told Waypoint its editorial team was not consulted. The statement's eventual existence became clear to the editorial staff over the weekend, but what it would include or say was not clear to anyone until it was published. The sources Waypoint talked to didn't know who wrote the statement, and say no one they talked to on the editorial staff knows either. An identical version of the statement was distributed internally to employees with no added commentary, they said. One source described the mood of many employees as, quote, pissed, end quote. Just a few weeks ago, IGN's various internal divisions were in conflict over the rollout of an exclusive gameplay video for 6 Days in Fallujah, a game that's been criticised for coming across as American military propaganda. At a contentious staff meeting this morning, 3 IGN employees told Waypoint that IGN Executive Vice President and COO Pierce Schneider was peppered with questions about the post coming down. Who actually removed it? Why did they decide to remove it? One employee said Schneider did not respond with specifics and argued the issue was the charity article choosing a side in the ongoing, quote, war, end quote. He was specific to use the word war multiple times. Another employee asked if IGN's parent company, J2 Global, was motivated by financial investments in Israel, which reportedly Schneider could not answer. IGN staff did not leave the meeting with satisfying answers. No. Okay. The first sign of contention about the Palestine charities post did not come from IGN readers unexpectedly upset at the politics of the editorial team. Responses to IGN's now deleted tweet were supportive. But from IGN Israel, one of many spin-offs operating throughout the world, which released a scathing critique of the charity post that originated on IGN. Quote, "It is important for us to emphasize that we condemn this action and did not take part in it or were aware of it. This is not our way," said the IGN Israel statement. "We at IGN Israel support the State of Israel, obviously, and support IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Force, soldiers who do everything to keep us all safe in these tough days. We work in every way possible to remove this misleading and offensive content from the American edition team, which does not represent our views," end quote. The IGN Israel statement, which originally appeared on Facebook and Instagram, has since been deleted by both. IGN Israel did not respond to a request for comment. IGN's article came not long after GameSpot managing editor Tamar Hussein released a widely shared and celebrated video critiquing how the games industry's silence about Israel's treatment of Palestinians, quote, "is in stark contrast to the way big streamers rallied for other causes over the last few years," end quote. Hussein called upon those with power to take a stand. Nothing about this seemed controversial. It wasn't meant to be a bold statement. It was solidly in line with what IGN had already been doing. The entirety of IGN staff didn't consult and approve this decision because they didn't need to. It reflected the mood and attitude of the staff, and it's why they were pissed it was deleted. There is no indication IGN editor-in-chief Tina Amini was involved in crafting the statement, and the IGN employees I talked to mentioned how Amini has supported this and previous efforts to use IGN's platform to champion causes regardless of potential political blowback. Amini did not respond to a request for comment. Quote, "blindsided and furious," wrote one IGN... Oh no, I didn't mean to actually put that in there. That was from a section of like reading through tweets. My apologies, I didn't mean to actually put that in there. Tiny X Rebellion came up while the statement was being written. For a brief moment, IGN South Africa republished the original Palestinian charity article. It was quickly deleted without note or an update. And there's a letter going around, which obviously isn't a part of this story. This story came out before that. Signed by quite a lot of people who work at IGN. Expressing similar sentiments as to what's in the story. I feel like they were not happy.
Yeah, this is big companies trying to stop something. It sounds like and it's not being taken very well. Obviously, like I know a lot of people. This was trending over the weekend. And I saw a lot of like people who like formerly worked at IGN and everything like that tweeting, "I support the IGN staff. I'm in support of the IGN staff." Blah 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 blah.
It was very clear, right from the word go, that the IGN editorial staff had nothing to do with the removal of the post or the statement that followed on Twitter.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's the owners.
We all know this, which we know now for sure, like from Patrick's reporting, but also from the open letter. It's called an open letter to leadership at IGN, Ziff Davis, and J2 Global. It was published 2 days ago, and it's signed by too many people for me to even name at this point.
Yeah,
who all work at IGN, on the editorial team, the content team, or behind the scenes.
Yeah, whatever you think of what's happening in Israel and to the Palestinian civilians and people and everything like that, that's neither here or there for this. IGN staff believe in one certain thing, and they want to support it, and they deserve to have the right to support that. And the parent company, the owners, basically coming in and stopping this and basically saying we don't side to this, we don't want to be on anyone's side type of thing. Is something like that people don't like to see. People like to see at least know your side. Just tell us your side so we know where you stand from and everything like that. And the IGN staff, I can understand how difficult this was. I can't understand how difficult this was because I was never in their situation. I can only imagine how difficult it was probably for them, to the part of like, do I stay? Do I leave here? Am I compromised here? Do I have to now move on to go and find somewhere else to go and work and everything like that? A place I've loved to work all my for years and years and years and years and years, and everything. And I bet there was a few who have even questioned that. There's no doubt about that. And I'll also be not surprised if we don't hear in the next 6 months that some of them have moved on somewhere else just because of this situation. And I can understand why they would have done that and everything. It's the owners put their staff in a compromising position, an untenable position, basically, to make them feel like they might not want to be there. IGN, the biggest gaming website in the world.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It is the biggest gaming website in the world.
Yeah.
So
I feel for the staff. I feel for them.
Setting aside, I'm just trying to think of some wording here. Setting aside how you would personally feel, or I would personally feel, about the ethnic cleansing that's currently going on in Palestine, which I don't think anyone should do, just for the purposes of what I'm about to say. Setting aside that, there are several problems that I see with what happened. The first and most important one is it was a post, and again, whatever side you're on or whatever, right? It was a post linking to charities to help people being bombed.
Yeah. Children.
Yep. Civilians being bombed with missiles. And like there shouldn't be anything controversial about that. Irregardless.
Yeah.
Children are not like it was in the fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Children are not combatants. It was literally a line that came up. Gamers should understand this because they all play Call of Duty. But no, like there's nothing controversial about the post. There never should be. There never will. There never is. The second one is this compromises IGN as an outlet, because now anything that the editorial team writes or posts or published can be removed without warning or explanation by the management, and that's not how journalism works.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how journalism can function. Journalism needs to be independent of this kind of thing.
Yeah. Was this kind of something that why Jason left Kotaku?
I do not remember. I think he talked about advertising.
Yeah, well, there was something like it happened over there, didn't there? And I think there was.
There's a lot of things been happening over at Kotaku recently.
Yeah.
We'll make it into those things one day, but like this is just a no. Like, so, like when you're saying, like, I understand that people have to get paid to live, right? Like, very few people are privileged enough in this world, especially in the games industry, because people do not get paid as much as you think in this industry.
Yeah.
To be able to just quit a job like straight away and just go, well, fuck you, I'm out of here. But it can't, like, you're in an impossible situation, because, like, how do you go forward with this as a writer or a content creator at IGN? Again, setting aside personal feelings about the ethnic cleansing that's going on in Palestine, just how do you go on from this? Like, how do you know that the next thing that you write won't just be taken away by management? Because you don't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because that line has been crossed. And also, on the third note, where are all the free speech warriors? Because they should be all over this shit. And I don't see a peep out of any of them. This is literal censorship. This is the thing that you're always complaining about when some anime character in a video game tits shrink. But this is the actual censorship, and you're all fucking quiet. I mean,
you're not wrong there.
It's a rhetorical question. I know exactly where you are because I've seen you fucking shit scrubs defending fucking IGN's management over this. It was a rhetorical question. I was setting myself up for the punchline of I see exactly where you are. I see you out there.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on. Like, IGN already, even though it's the biggest site in the world, it gets all the clicks and everything like that, it already had a mixed reputations for a lot of people anyway. Like, like they always get bashed for saying, oh, why didn't you get it? Of just over subjectivity for a lot of the parts. It's like, why didn't you give this a 10? Why did you give this a 9 or something like that? It's like, it's subjective, guys. Get the hell over it type of thing. And they always get bashed over that, or some silly lines that you hear on a podcast or something like that. Or why they aren't talking about like sexual harassment from Ubisoft and et cetera and et cetera, and what happened and other stuff that happens in the industry with the crap that Activision pulls off and Blizzard pulls off and the whole shebang. Like, so this is they were already a bit of a mixed bag company, and now this is probably just even tarnished. This has tarnished them even more. And then puts all their staff in an untenable situation of like, can I write for this company where, like what you said, my article could get instantly taken down because the management didn't agree with it? And for me, I don't know how they can stay there. I understand why they want to stay there, because obviously I can't leave because
I have a mortgage. I have kids.
It's incredibly expensive in California because that's where they're all based. And it is incredibly expensive there. So, like,
again, like we talked about, obviously we mentioned IGN specifically in the previous story when we were calling out outlets not talking enough about trying to hold Ubisoft accountable. And I obviously stand by that. Like, but they're like, that's the outlet as a whole. Again, there's a difference between a company and the people who work for the company. Like, my heart goes out to everybody who works at IGN who must feel absolutely terrible right now. Like, they're in an awful position. Like, they tried to do a good thing, and everything that followed after that is despicable. From, what's their company called? J2 Global? Like, whatever chain of events led to that post being deleted and the thing being, the statement being released on Twitter is abhorrent. Like, it offends me that was the statement. And I just want to point out, the IGN Israel statement is deleted now, but it wasn't at the time. So, because I made a tweet that was very popular among the free speech warriors, in regards to this, where the Palestinian article, the charity article, had been deleted from IGN, but the pro-Israeli IDF post on IGN Israel was still up, which tells me that IGN as a brand is taking a side, regardless of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could get into the fact that the American government is currently about to rubber stamp $735 million of weapons to be sold to Israel, but we're not going to do that because we're a video game podcast. And I'm angry enough as it is. I will say two more things before we move on from this. One, Timur Hussein's video was incredibly on point. If you haven't seen it, you should go to his Twitter and watch it. Like, I've educated myself a lot about Palestine and Israel over the course of the past few weeks, with everything that's been going on in the region. And it's very eye-opening. Incredibly tragic stuff. And that's the fact that I didn't know enough about it beforehand is on me. And now I do. The second one is the links that IGN attempted to share, the charity links, will be in the description of this video or wherever you get your audio podcast from. If you can do anything to help support, do it, even if it's just sharing the links. If you can't support monetarily, I would urge you to do it. Those are my final words on that.
Agreed.
Okay. I need
Let's
to get
talk
back
about some
into
video games, Amy.
Should we talk about some actual video games, Moody?
Let's do it.
Anyway, we get there 40 minutes into the podcast. Geoff Keighley's Summer Game Fest returns June 10th with a world premiere showcase. This is from Jay Peters over at The Verge. He writes, Summer Game Fest is back this year, and it will start on June 10th with an event called Kick It Off Live that's billed as, quote, a spectacular world premiere showcase, end quote, with more than a dozen world premieres and announcements. The show, which will begin at 2 p.m. ET, will be hosted by Geoff Keighley. That's like when we start recording. Thanks, Geoff. Who you might also know as the host of the Game Awards. Kickoff Live is just the first of many events that will be part of Summer Game Fest. Some of the publishers confirmed to be participating in Summer Game Fest include 2K, Activision, Blizzard, Capcom, Epic Games, Sony PlayStation, Riot Games, Square Enix, Ubisoft, and Xbox. This first event will also feature a performance by Weezer, quote, who will debut a brand new stream-safe game soundtrack song that can be freely streamed on Twitch, YouTube, and anywhere else without being blocked or losing monetization, according to the press release. So it seems like we won't see a repeat of what happened with Metallica's performance at BlizzCon. Sorry?
Who's Weezer?
They're a, like, 2000s pop-punk band, you know, like, sort of in the same vein as, like, Tom 41, Blink-182. Stuff that I used to listen to all the time.
Feels like a band I know. I'm going to have to have a look at this. Go on, continue.
I think they are. I might be thinking of someone else. Yeah, American rock band, formed in 92. Yeah, in a similar sort of vein as like Green Day and whatnot. Summer Game Fest launched last year to let publishers showcase their upcoming games. After some of the industry's biggest events were restricted or cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many gaming events have been affected by the pandemic this year as well, forcing some, like GDC and E3, to shift to digital formats. And that's that. June 10th seems to be the day, the first day of quote-unquote E3.
Yay!
Yay.
Yeah. Well, I think the story that you have further down with Geoff Keighley, I think, should be attached to this as well, because I think it's it continues. It's a good combination for both of them. I think personally, where we can get into it a little bit more as well.
Okie. Geoff Keighley, quote, the feedback from everyone is that they want these game shows together, end quote. This is from Christopher Dring over at gamesindustry.biz. It's a big article with a lot of quotes from Geoff Keighley. I took the bit that I wanted to take. And we're going to read that part. Quote, everything last year was so spread apart by the nature of the pandemic, and the feedback from everyone is that they want these game shows all together. So now we're going to do a big full-on show for Summer Games Fest that leads into the big publisher events, which is hopefully more of what people wanted, where things are more condensed and combined together, so people have a date and a time to show up for news. That's what we're going for. E3 is in that window as well, so hopefully all boats will rise and it will be good for everyone, end quote. One of the biggest criticisms of last year's digital game events, which stretched from early May right up until September, was just how spread out they all were. The number of viewers was high, but the buzz and excitement that you would typically get from an E3 was missing. Quote, last year it was challenging to do anything, Keighley says. Everything and everybody was spread out, so we wanted to condense things down to a more reasonable schedule and hopefully get people aligned. I equate it to a fisherman spreading in the net wide and slowly bringing it in. This summer we are hoping to get things closer. There will still be some outlier events. EA is doing some Battlefield stuff in June, but EA Play is going to be in July, so not everything will be in 2 or 3 days. But in this digital world, companies want to have their own days. You're not in a city where you have to have a hotel room or extra nights to see these events, so things naturally spread out a little bit. But I agree with the fans who want to have this point in time. We want to have that battle between the different games. We want that excitement. That was the idea for this year. Let's have a big kick-off moment, but also respect and support publishers that want to do their own events. End quote. Go.
Yeah, basically it's a thing that we've been talking about on many occasions, that we all prefer to be all together. So basically bringing it all together for like a giant 2-week basically push, which basically it's like a 10-day whole thing, isn't it? To go culminate and going into E3 and everything, which is a fantastic thing. It's brilliant. It's a great combination here. It's baffling that, no offense, I'm just going to say this, E3, why you just didn't I'm sure you and Geoff Keighley spoke in some sort of way I'll be very surprised if you didn't to say, yo, how about we collab again? Yada yada yada. And obviously, if you did,
I think they are, right? Like, I don't think it's an accident that these two things are happening side by side. Like,
yeah,
and it's because the Kickoff Live, which is this Summer Game Fest kickoff event, is like June 10th, and E3 stuff is probably going to be starting around June 12th, June 13th.
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah, so like, I mean, like shows and stuff will probably start
E3
kicking
is
off around
June
there.
12th. Yeah.
And then you'll have your IGNs and your GameSpots. I imagine will be running stuff through the week to like after that as well. So, like,
Yeah.
it's better. Like, it was a big miss last year having everything concentrated in one place, rather than over the course of like I think it was 4 or 5 months, that it ended up being last year, which was just too long. Like, in theory, it sounds great, right? Like, you're constantly getting this update of video game news and new video game announcements and all this cool stuff that you would normally see at E3, but you're just constantly getting it for 5 months. But the issue is, you're constantly getting it for 5 months. Like, it's hard for things to stand out. Whereas, like, with an E3, it's all concentrated in that one space. You just have to be present for that, and then everyone's paying attention to the same thing. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Really. I love E3.
Yeah, it is absolutely a fantastic thing that they're all coming together into doing this type of thing, and just makes our life a lot more easy just to chill in Discord and watch these things, Amy. Apart from obviously the Thursday, because Geoff Keighley hates us.
Yeah, we're going to be here, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Geoff.
Thanks, Geoff.
Unless we push it to Friday.
They'll be smart. I don't know. We'll see. Like, it's a couple of weeks away, so we'll be able to get a clearer picture of what's going on. Because we could end up pushing it to Friday, and then something even bigger will be happening on Friday. So we'll have those discussions in the background. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine.
Thanks, Geoff. I'm going to start that hashtag. Thanks, Geoff. Anyway, scroll up. Joint Xbox-Bethesda E3 2021 showcase confirmed post-acquisition. This is from Liana Ruppert over at Game Informer, who writes, E3 2021 is just around the corner. With so many leaks flying around about Starfield, we'll get into those later, it's no wonder why so many gamers are eager to see more from the Xbox acquisition of ZeniMax and its umbrella properties. With Bethesda included under that umbrella, the two companies are confirmed to have a joint showcase during E3 2021, as confirmed by head of Microsoft Studios and man with best name in the industry, Matt Booty, in a recent interview with a French publication. I added some editorial of my own there. I don't know if you spotted it. Booty confirmed the joint showcase in a recent interview with Le Figaro. This was something that has been highly speculated, especially given that Bethesda's Bethesda-land E3 show has always been a celebratory highlight of E3. It looks like that may be changing in the future, or possibly just for this digital format, because the Xbox exec has confirmed that the two companies are going halfsies this year. He didn't go into specifics, especially with E3 less than a month away, but he did reiterate something that both companies have been very adamant about, that this acquisition will not touch the creative freedom these studios have. He also added that the goal of these acquisitions is not to pump out content on Xbox Game Pass, instead of looking at building a more broadened game experience over on Team Green. He also warns that Xbox should not and is not looking to adopt the path of Netflix in how that streaming service analyzes data. Double header, Moody. We're getting a double header.
Which I'm not going to lie, I kind of thought was going to happen, personally. So this is not a surprise for me whatsoever that they're basically combining them into one giant double header thingy-majiggy, whatever the bonanza that they're going to go into. Obviously, there's a story that we're going to be talking about shortly about a certain Bethesda game. But this is great. More fun, hopefully. Yeah. And that's all that matters. That's all that we care about. And
well, I think doing a double header is a good thing, right? Because the acquisition only went through earlier this year. And as I've talked about on previous podcasts, like E3 captures more people's attention than any other individual event, right? Like the news of Bethesda's acquisition, for example, which when the acquisition actually became a thing, also included a roundtable. like a presentation. But like with E3, you get more mainstream eyes on you or more casual eyes on you than you would at any other time of year. So I think it's really smart for Microsoft to do this doubleheader with Bethesda now, because it gets more eyes on the fact that Bethesda is a Microsoft thing now. Like Bethesda is an Xbox thing now.
Yep.
Like, do you want to play Bethesda games? Well, here they are at Xbox.
Game Pass, baby.
So, like, you want to tie that brand into your brand, essentially.
Yeah.
And a good way to do that is to just have it all be one thing in E3.
Yeah. That's how you do it, and it's spot on to do that.
And the other way that you do it... Oh, sorry. I was doing a segue, but you have things to say.
Continue segue. Honestly, mine was fluff.
Okay. The other way that you tie those two brands together is this. Starfield is an Xbox and PC exclusive. This is from Jeff Grubb's Twitter.
It even went off even more by a Game Informer lady, Laura, this morning as well. Someone was... But we'll get into it. We'll get into that shortly.
Jeff Grubb wrote on Twitter, quote, Starfield is exclusive to Xbox and PC, period. This is me confirming that. Second tweet, like, go write the story. Third tweet, I blame @TimGetties and @GameOverGready for infecting me with their doubt on Gamescast. I should have listened to @Vicious696 on my shoulder, but yes, I have since confirmed this. I'm gonna steal Moody's line and say, I'm not surprised. Like, you don't spend... And this is, again, Vicious696. This is Paris. I'm practically quoting Paris at this point. But what I am going to say is you don't spend $7.5 billion to change nothing.
Facts, yeah. It is spot on. Why they're doing this and everything like that. You don't do that. You don't spend $7 billion to have some of Bethesda stuff that are in the pipeline to be moved over to PlayStation or even Nintendo or whatever, or to go on other platforms.
Yeah.
And that's it, basically. That's absolutely fair. Now, going what I was going to say, from a Game of Thrones, Linda Raputa?
Liana Ruppert.
Okay, it's weird how they spell Liana, but okay.
Liana, with two N's.
Yeah. Tweeted out, why am I going on that? I'm going the wrong way. I'm getting myself all
That's fine.
up.
I can keep talking about...
She called out, someone basically said, I can confirm this is going to be revealed. Someone tweeted out saying they know that Starfield's been done since last year, and they've been polishing it for the last year to be ready for this year and everything like that. And basically... Leia came out and basically said, no, I can confirm this is complete and trash and not true. I can't get into what my full source and everything like that, because obviously I'm not writing the article, someone else is doing it, blah, blah, blah. And then Jason came out and says, no, this is not happening. One thing, like Jeffrey Grubb, basically, I think he said that he expects Starfield at the beginning of next year. Jason, obviously, with the message, the tweet I sent you, or whatever, saying, no, I sent a clip to you. I'll get it up on my end.
No, it's not. It's late 2022, is what Jason said.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
Yeah, Jason's saying late 2022.
Like, you want to discuss stuff, but let me just say one thing. Like, to the person who claimed that Starfield has been basically done since September, I'm going to quote Moody this time. My entire Starfield discourse is just quoting other people. I'm going to quote Moody's famous catchphrase, that's not how the Force works. If the game had been finished in September, Starfield would have come out by now. Because that's how the games industry works. You don't finish a game and then not release it. What is the point? At that point, you're losing money. For nothing, for no reason. If the game was finished in September, guess what? It's coming out in October/November. Yeah.
To quote on it, going into a different industry, there's a reason why a ton of movies have been held, and like Disney and Warner Brothers and all of us are losing money because these made films that they wanted to be thrown out to make a profit on, and they can't right now because of the pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what happened to Tenet.
Yeah. It was an okay film anyway. It wasn't the greatest.
It would have made a lot more money if they'd held it back to now.
I agree there. But no, yeah, it's not surprising whatsoever. I'm playing it on PC. I don't care.
I'm playing it on Xbox. I'm playing it on Game Pass. Can we just talk for a minute about there are still a lot of people out there. Like, I know I'm doing that generalizing thing that you shouldn't do, but like, I have seen many tweets and opinions and videos, like, I don't know if surprised is the right word, mad about Starfield exclusivity for Xbox and PC. And, like, you don't spend $7.5... Like, what did you think was going to happen when Bethesda was acquired by Microsoft?
They would all hold hands still and live happily ever after.
That Xbox would release, like, all the fucking games on PlayStations? No, of course they wouldn't. Yeah. For the same reason that fucking... If PlayStation made in Sunset Overdrive 2, they wouldn't release it on Xbox. Yeah, why would they?
Unexpected, yeah.
It's a fucking PlayStation studio. Like, I'm perplexed by people getting mad about it. Like, fair enough if you don't like it because you're a PlayStation player, whatever. But you can't be fucking surprised or fucking too mad about it, because this is how the Force works.
But to literally turn it against those PlayStation fanboys, we all know PlayStation were trying to get Starfield exclusively. You wouldn't have been crying havoc for the Xbox boys and girls and everyone else if they couldn't get it exclusive for a year or two. So pipe down, PlayStation fanboys and girls and everyone else. It's fine. Settle yourself down.
It's fine, though, because they're getting Spider-Man exclusively in Marvel's Avengers.
Facts. And I even said then I didn't see a problem with them having it on that, and I don't see a problem that Starfield's exclusive to Xbox either. So pipe down.
I never see a problem with it. Like, do I wish all games could just be on all platforms and everybody could live happily ever after? Yeah, sure, of course I do. But that's not how this industry operates. And Microsoft, like, we spent years and years. The discourse for most of the last console generation was Xbox needs exclusive games. Well, guess what? Strap in, because they've got 23 game development studios working on games right now. Many of them are working on multiple games. This E3 is going to burn the fucking house down. Like, from Xbox.
I expect to hear Seth Rollins' theme from WWE, even though I don't support WWE anymore. I just want to hear it. Burn it down!
I will play that for you right before the Microsoft thingy starts. It's just for you, Moody. Like, I got some bad news for anyone who is surprised or angry about this, because if you think Starfield's the only game that's going to be exclusive, oh my god, you're in for a terrible next few years. I know we speculated about this on the podcast, and someone might go, "But Amy, you were saying that some games might not be exclusive." To that, I will say, yeah, there might be a financial benefit to a game maybe as big as Elder Scrolls coming out on PlayStation.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
and even then, I would say, would the financial incentive not be bigger to keep it on Xbox and PC? Because I reckon this Starfield news alone has accelerated a fair amount of people's plans to buy an Xbox.
Possibly.
I know you've got your PC and whatnot, whatever. I have an Xbox already.
No, I agree. I do agree with you. I think there's that chance, and that's what they want. So,
like, if they come out and, like, later this year, right, and they're like, here's the Xbox Series C, the cloud version, the streaming stick thing, it's like $50, $60.
Internet breaks.
Yeah. Also, Also, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive to Xbox. Xbox is going to sell a lot of units over the next few years, because I think they have a very good pipeline. And speaking of a very good pipeline, I have a list of upcoming Game Pass games, Moody. I'm not going to read the descriptions for most of the games, but I am going to go through it. On May 20th, Peggle 2 is coming to the cloud. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville is coming to the cloud. Secret Neighbor is coming to PC. And The Wild at Heart is coming to console and PC. That's a launch title. That's coming out today. It's already out. That's coming out on launch day, which was yesterday. On May 21st, The Catch, Carp and Course Fishing is coming to cloud, console and PC. And Knockout City, that multiplayer dodgeball game, is coming to console and PC. On May 25th, Maneater comes to everything. On May 27th, Conan Exiles comes to cloud and console and has been optimized for Xbox Series X and S. Also on May 27th, Fusion Frenzy comes to cloud. Do you ever play Fusion Frenzy, really? On the original, on the OG Xbox?
No.
Microsoft's trying to do sort of like a party game thing. I played it a few times. I don't remember much about it, but I think I had a good time with it.
I think I liked it. I'm not sure.
I want to try it again, but I feel like I don't at the same time. If you know what I mean,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
There's got to be a reason I don't remember much about it, right?
It sounds like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Also on May 27th, Joyride Turbo comes to cloud. Slime Rancher comes to PC. And MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries comes to console. Oh, and Solasta, Crown of the Magister comes to PC. I should have scrolled down before I finished reading. That is a launch day title that's coming out. That's the release day for the game as well. I'm looking forward to playing that, actually. I did a demo playthrough last year for one of the Steam Game Festivals. I had a really good time with the game. So, the fact that it's coming to Game Pass is fucking great because it means I can just download it and play it.
That's true.
And lastly, on May 27th, Spellforce 3 Soul Harvest is coming to PC.
Sweet. Lots of games there, ladies and gentlemen. Different variety. Can't ask for much more. Go on, give it a chance.
There's some good stuff in there. There's a couple of good new releases. There's nothing on the level of you remember when Octopath Traveler came out or Undertale came out. But there's some pretty solid stuff in there. And I have a feeling there might be some stuff coming in June that might be a bit higher profile.
June's gonna I expect to hear a couple of games saying, and it's on Game Pass.
Let me ask you. I'm not necessarily saying on Game Pass today, but let me ask you. I'm going to ask you for one prediction right now for a game that's going to get announced in June is coming in Game Pass. Can be in this game when it launches is coming into Game Pass, or it can be in this game which is already out. We're going to put it in Game Pass. Anything. Do you have any predictions? Any one game that you think?
I expect the 12 minutes to be shown, and it'll be announced to be in Game Pass right after that conference.
I'm not gonna lie, that would be awesome. I would put my money on Yakuza Like a Dragon, and then being it's coming to Game Pass. Maybe not straight after the show, but I think they'll be it's coming to Game Pass later this month or later this summer.
Yeah. I think it could be a chance. I think that's coming. There's no doubt about that's coming.
Yeah, every other Yakuza game is in Game Pass.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Sorry there.
One day I might play them all. It's a lot of games, though.
If only there was a place where we'd be moving in together where we could stream as much as we want when we weren't busy, Amy.
It's only me. Don't get me excited.
Stop spoiling the force, Moody.
Let's move on. Survey says. What's that from? Our survey says.
Oh. Family Fortunes?
Yeah.
Our survey says.
Yeah, I remember that. Anyway, that survey says 59% of women hide gender to avoid harassment while gaming online. This is from Brendan Sinclair over at GamesIndustry.biz, who writes, 59% of women hide their gender while playing games online to avoid harassment, according to a new survey. Reach 3 Insights and Lenovo today released findings from a survey of 900 women. Wait, Lenovo? That's who made... They're the people who made my laptop. I didn't know why they're doing surveys about this stuff. Sorry, that was weird. I don't think I've ever read about anything about Lenovo on this podcast in 257 episodes. My apologies. Sorry, I have ADHD. I get distracted by things. Okay. Reach 3 Insights on Lenovo today released findings from a survey of 900 women gamers in the US, Germany, and China about their playing habits and perceptions of how women are portrayed in games. Quote, a lot of the time I end up playing as male characters in MMORPGs so people don't realize I'm a girl, one woman explained. We try to hide that what we are so people don't flirt with us, send us stuff, send us messages we really don't want, or pictures, end quote. Yeah, that's happened to me before. In MMOs. Playing as female avatars. And I wasn't out or anything yet. Because it's been a long time since I played MMOs. That shit used to happen to me all the time. Anyway, 77% of women surveyed said they had experienced gender-specific discrimination while gaming, most commonly with comments about their skills, 70%, gatekeeping, 65%, or patronizing comments, 50%. 44% said they had, quote, received unsolicited relationship asks, end quote. While women reported poor treatment from their fellow players, they were largely satisfied with how they're depicted by developers. 80% of women gamers were happy with the representation of women characters in AAA titles, with 91% happy with depictions of women in indie games. As for where there's room for improvement in the industry's treatment of women, 71% chose ideas to improve gaming ads, for example by showing more women, having women provide the voiceovers, or by showing women playing AAA titles. Women gamers' fondness for core game genres was a theme of the survey, with 88% of women playing competitive games, 75% playing action/survival games, and 66% playing shooters. 61% of respondents also said they wanted to see game companies form all-women esports teams to compete at the highest levels. And then there's a disclosure at the bottom of the article because GamesIndustry.biz participated in the creation of the survey and suggested some of the questions.
It's not a surprise to hear that the women hide their gender to avoid harassment at all. We know how much of a cesspool of crap the internet can be, but sadly, especially on online gaming.
Oh god!
You just said yourself before you were out, you were sent stuff, and you were just like, "What?"
When I was playing WoW, God, it was when it first came out, so it must have been like 2006, 7, something like that. Like my character was female. Shock horror nowadays, but like, I wonder why I did that. But yeah, it's like you get like whispers and messages and all sorts, and I don't know what to say. It's ridiculous, right? It's like, just God give me the strength. God give me the unearned confidence of white men playing video games.
Yeah. But no, I agree with what they're saying on the part of like how to improve like the industry's treatment of women and everything like that. Adding improving of game ads, I think that's spot on there. Examples of showing more women playing games, providing the voiceovers and everything like that. I think that'll be spot on there. I think that would be a really good idea. There's like a lot of great ideas here. It's just a shame about the main part of which is the title of the banner of this article.
Yeah, you can essentially slice it into 3 sections, right? Yeah. So there's the actual playing of games, which is where the headline comes from. 59% hide their gender to avoid harassment, which is I totally understand because, like, even if I hadn't experienced it myself, both on YouTube and in games in general, like I've seen the videos that go viral. On Twitter all the time from women streamers. Obviously, there's the other stuff. Gender-specific, 77% experienced gender-specific discrimination while gaming, with comments about their skills, gatekeeping, or patronizing comments. I was literally talking about one of those things to my friend Amy. One of my best friends is called Amy as well. We were talking about gamer bros. and the gatekeeping. You know, it's what I want. What I'm basically trying to aim at there is like, when you guys do this to us, we talk about it and we mock you and laugh at you because you're pathetic. Anyway, that was the first part. You can set then segues into the whole like into actual games, right? Like the thing we rarely talk about on this podcast anymore, like the actual video games and the representation in video games. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's a hell of a lot better than it was like 10 years ago in terms of actual like female characters in video games. I think it can be better, but I think you can usually say that about things like this. Like it can always be a bit better, right?
Yeah, I think it can always be better. There's no doubt about that. It has got better. It is improving every day. Every game that comes out that shows a depiction that you can play as a woman or gives you a opportunity like of how you can play like Magnum Mass Effect trilogy. You can play as a man or you can play as male shep or femme shep, and everything like that. And they both are two great, amazing characters. And now you've got these, and you've got other ones like this for like going back to. Okay, I'm going to say this. Ubisoft. I loved Odyssey, and I loved
Cassandra.
Crap, what was her name?
Cassandra.
Yeah, Cassandra. I loved her. I thought she was an amazing character, and they did a very good job for that. They did a really good job for that. It's a shame that the like a few months or a year after we found out that they didn't really want to do women characters or anything like that. Thank you, Ubisoft. Well done. You morons, but whatever. And they continued that into Valhalla by giving you a choice to play as the male or female as well. So they're doing it. They are working, and it is working towards it in other games. And the next Life is Strange games, so you've primarily played as a female character. I know the sequel was two boys as a male, but the original and the prequel and the new one, you are playing as a female character. I can't wait to play those games again when that comes out later on this year, especially as the entire episodes are going to be out for the third season. So that makes it a lot more easier for us to be able to play it and everything. So
I won't forget to play it like I did with the last one.
I know.
Yeah, like I want to see games with like a bunch of different perspectives, right? Like,
yeah,
I want characters. I want playable characters, or like the worlds that they inhabit. I just want all sorts of different characters. Like, games are more interesting when they're not some buzzcut, fucking generic white dude with a big gun, right? Which is what games were 15 years ago. Like that was just who the main character of most video games were. Like I want everyone. I want to see things from everyone's perspective. I think it's great, and it makes games more interesting. When I was reviewing Devotion back in 2016, which was a Taiwanese horror game, I'm just going to double check that really quickly because I want to make sure it was actually a Taiwanese horror game.
Nice, yeah, double check.
Yeah, it was a Taiwanese horror game. Like, it drew heavily on like the history and culture of Taiwan, which is something I hadn't really experienced before, like in that way in a video game. And I thought it made it a richer, better horror game because, well, for starters, I was learning about a culture and I was learning about the history of a culture, and I thought that was really cool. But also, the horror was unique, right? Like, I was watching Ring, the Japanese Ring movie, not that long ago, and like it's different from the American version, obviously, because it's more culturally Japanese, and that's great because it means that like you get that there's like cultural differences in the horror itself, and that's just one example. Like, one of the reasons I liked that Devotion game so much was because it was different and it was scary, and the way it tried to scare you was different from like the many other Western horror games that I played. Which again, I'm not out here bashing Western horror game or Western games in general. It's just to get to see things and experience things and play things from different perspectives whether it be cultural, gender, racial, anything. Like, I think it's fantastic, and I want more of it.
Yeah. My favorite, my favorite character growing up as a young boy, ladies and gentlemen, was Ellen Ripley. It was a female character.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah, and she's one of the still to this day, one of the greatest heroines ever to be created. So, I can't wait. I can't wait for more. I'll say this before we wrap on to the next story. I loved learning about Spanish people from Life is Strange 2 and everything like that. Because they had because the two boys had Spanish descent.
Yeah. I didn't play it, but yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I'll get around to it. I'll make a retrospective about it. It'll be my excuse.
Be a good excuse.
Almost. You might.
How many retrospectives are you up to now?
you might say that's why I did start doing retrospectives. Really, I mean, you might say that. Like, I would say allegedly to that, but whether it's true or not, you make your own decisions about that. Like, did I just start retrospectives because I really wanted to play Bloodborne again? Who knows?
Is that how the Force worked for you, Amy?
I can neither confirm nor deny that's how the Force worked for me. The third thing, because I did say there was 3 splits, the third split is, in terms of, like, representing women in general in the video games industry, so, like, what they're talking about like showing more women in game ads, or having more women provide voiceovers for adverts, or showing women playing AAA games. Like, normalize the fact that, there are a lot of women who play video games, and a lot of them like the things that are traditionally seen as like male-dominated genres or whatever. Because there aren't really any male-dominated genres of video games. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
So it's good. I think that's a really cool idea as well. To like,
I agree.
Just show it, right? Just show it.
Show it.
Nike said just do it, and I agree with them. Just do it.
So did Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah. Sony has patented an esports betting system. This is from Rhiannon Bevan over at The Gamer, who writes, Sony looks poised to break into the gambling industry as it patents its own esports betting system. As spotted by Gaming Root, the patent was granted May 13th of this year. Along with the patent, there is a description which reads as follows, quote, odds for various propositions concerning the play of a computer simulation are determined and presented to a viewer for pecuniary or non-pecuniary wagering purposes. The odds may be determined using past game analytics or may be determined parimutually. End quote. Patent actually has a spelling error in it. Translated from business jargon, this means that Sony is considering setting up a service in which esports fans can watch matches, while the same service advertises and hosts a way to bet on the results. Pecuniary relates to wagering money, so pecuniary or non-pecuniary could suggest that the betting will take multiple forms. For example, there could be traditional gambling with real-world money, as well as placing bets with in-game items or currency. It is very likely that this patent will amount to something, considering Sony's purchase of Evo this March, with an event planned for August. Sony has not released any official statement on the esports betting system. It may prove controversial in the current political climate as the link between video games and gambling becomes ever more debated, between both gamers and legislators. This mostly pertains to loot boxes, which, while most countries do not consider a form of gambling, are still causing a concern amongst healthcare experts and politicians. Oh, this is a slippery slope that Sony's decided to try and walk down. If for no other reason than gambling is a bit of a hot topic, like the article mentions. Gambling is a hot topic and a very controversial one in gaming right now.
Exactly.
And I feel like PlayStation or Sony just decided to like reach right in and just grab the hornet's nest with its bare hand.
No, they just put the head in it.
Oh, they just stuck their head in it. Let me stick my face in it.
What would happen if I put my head into this?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm being stung by hornets. You could have seen this coming.
This is this is a slippery slope indeed. There's no doubt about this. Traditional gambling with real world.
Yeah, pecuniary and non-pecuniary, basically, yeah, essentially is what it's referring to. It could be
Yeah.
both or either, or neither, or like one or the other. Sorry. So I have many questions about this. So the article highlights the link between PlayStation patenting an esports betting system in May and PlayStation purchasing Evo in March, right? And that's an interesting link, which I think both things are probably connected. But how's this going to work? Are they going to put it on PlayStation? They're going to put Evo on PlayStation, so you're going to be able to watch Evo on PlayStation. That's, I imagine, one of the reasons why they bothered buying them in the first place.
Yeah.
So is this betting system going to exist alongside that? Is it going to be a part of the Evo app, let's call it, on PlayStation? And at what point do you stop kids being able to get into it and gambling with actual money, like credit cards or PayPal accounts that are linked to the PlayStation accounts or whatever? Because the whole one of the core pillars of why, in theory, and I know this isn't in practice, but in theory, that loot boxes have escaped the gambling route, like the gambling label, is because kids can't gamble for real world value with it. They're just gambling for in-game items. This potentially obliterates that entire argument in one go.
Yep.
Because this is literally gambling, in theory. And I have to stress it's a patent that nothing has come off yet, so this is all in theory. I don't understand how they can make this work.
I don't understand either. It's a scary theory if it goes through as well.
There could just be an app right there. And because loot boxes are so psychologically close to gambling, like FIFA Ultimate Team Packs, for example, a kid or a younger person might not necessarily know the difference.
They don't understand the difference. That's been proven.
So if they switch from FIFA, let's say, into the Evo thing to watch the fighting game, to watch Evo, it's a fighting game tournament, and then they can start winning things, because it's obviously going to be advertised on the app to them. Hey, bet on the outcome of this match, and maybe you can win some money, or maybe you can win some in-game items for whatever fighting games being played, like Mortal Kombat, let's say.
Yeah.
Street Fighter, whatever.
Yep. It's a very precarious position that Sony are putting themselves into here, if they actually create something here.
Yeah, I see red flags. Yeah, I see a lot of red flags
there. Yeah. And don't, Sony, I'll have to say this, don't come out and say, we'll put up parent controls. It's like, do you think the parents understand the parent controls on their PlayStation?
I always go to the opposite of that. It's I think a lot of parents do know about the parental controls on the PlayStation. Let me take you back in time, Marie. We're going on a trip. Back to the 1990s. Very old skyboxes, right? Before the internet was ubiquitous, when everybody was on modems that made weird noises when you get connected to the internet. If someone used the phone, the internet would go down. On Sky TV, they had let's call them softcore porn channels, right? And those were locked behind parental controls that my parents knew how to use. You do the thing, it's a PIN number, right? If you don't have the PIN number, you can't get it onto these channels.
Yeah.
Do you think I knew how to get around that?
Yes.
Of course I did. Parents can know how to turn on the parental controls, and I think a lot of companies try to use that as a shield, to shield themselves from this kind of thing. Will say, well, you should have had the parental controls turned on. I guarantee a lot of kids know how to get around the parental controls of their favorite video game console. Because that's what kids do.
Yep. Kids are smarter than they look.
That's what I used to do.
They're also easily impressionable. This is scary. That's all I'm going to say.
We will continue to keep an eye on this news story.
In future talks.
In the future. Speaking of the future, see what I did there?
The future of gaming.
Just the future in general. Mass Effect Legendary Edition smashes Steam player records. This is for Richard Breslin over at GameBite. He writes, Mass Effect Legendary Edition has smashed BioWare's previous Steam player record since the game launched on May 14th. At the time of writing, Mass Effect Legendary Edition has peaked at 59,817 players, just 2 days after it released. As of right now, there are just under 20,000 players enjoying remasters on the Steam platform. This means that Mass Effect Legendary Edition has reached a higher total of PC concurrent players on Steam than any other game in BioWare's history. Not bad. I like the editorializing there. Not bad for single-player games, yeah? Looking back at the history of the series on Steam, according to the Steam charts, the original Mass Effect achieved 2,792 concurrent players, Mass Effect 2 with 2,275, Mass Effect 3 just 659, and finally Andromeda with 3,590. In terms of what those numbers mean for the Mass Effect series when compared to Electronic Arts as a publisher, only Apex Legends has achieved higher numbers than the Legendary Edition with 330,879 concurrent players. The impressive numbers for this remastered collection don't stop there, because this remastered trilogy even managed to knock Resident Evil Village from the top of the Steam charts. Across the board, the Legendary Edition has also sold impressively not only on PC, but also on PlayStation and Xbox. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, as of the week ending May 15th, Mass Effect Legendary Edition swooped in at number 1 in the UK video game sales chart, again knocking Resident Evil Village from its perch. Everybody's doing Mass Effect, Moody.
Hell yeah.
Feels good, doesn't
it? Happy about it. It feels so good that I was right.
It's 2012 all over again. And everybody's talking about Mass Effect.
Hell yeah. In a good light as well, because Andromeda kind of did leave a bad taste for everybody. I know, like, you and me overall do like the game and everything, but it sadly did trip them over a bit.
I mean, even I, as someone who made a 35-minute video defending Mass Effect Andromeda last year, even at the time, it was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
For sure. But, I'm loving the fact that my Twitter timeline is just full of Mass Effect. Yeah, I am really enjoying seeing people experience this trilogy for the first time.
I'm so jealous of them in a great way.
one of my Twitter mutuals, Dash, he writes for TechRaptor. He tweeted I finished Mass Effect 1, and I was like, oh, okay, is this your first time? Is this your first time? Yeah, it's my first time. I was like, oh my god, you've got such a journey ahead of you.
Yeah,
it's so cool to just see all these reactions again. And I'm loving it. I'm loving. That's honestly, and I, you know me, I like Mass Effect. I may or may not have started a small war in our group chat when I said I've rated Mass Effect above Star Wars, but
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I think
I was staying out of it.
I think the thing I'm loving more than being able to replay these games myself, and bearing in mind I started this podcast by talking about the fact that the first minute of Mass Effect made me cry, is seeing other people's reactions to this for the first time.
Yeah.
I want to find a video compilation of people reacting to the beginning of Mass Effect 2. Just watch it, just seeing people's reactions to that. It's great. I love it, and I love the fact that it's just big again.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Yes, the ending of 3 was a very bit controversial when it came out and everything, but still, overall, the trilogy was still incredibly overall loved. They re-released it all in a combo pack when it all went to PlayStation 3, or when 1 went to PlayStation 3 for the third time, and it was oh my god, yes, thank you, we finally get to play all of it on PlayStation, etc. And everyone was so happy, and the ending was just completely forgotten about. And I'm not gonna lie, no one's talking about the ending at all.
I mean,
of 3.
Give it time.
And I'm sorry, I bet more people have completed all 3 games faster than you bloody that you and me have even played them and everything. But that's neither here or there. This is just incredible to see here. We both love Mass Effect, and yes, we were when the reveal of last year at the Game Awards was a new Mass Effect is coming in 10 years time or whatever. We were just all right. Now I'm not like that. I'm kind of I kind of need it, Amy. I'm kind of like, can you push Dragon Age back a little bit more and give me the new Mass Effect? Like, come on. Like, I'm kind of like that right now because it's Mass Effect. I love the trilogy. I love the franchise. I love Andromeda. I can't wait to. I've got Andromeda installed. I'm gonna finish the trilogy and then I'm gonna move straight on to Andromeda and then probably restart the whole thing again.
I'm not going that far. Again, I did just replay the game last year.
Oh hell yeah, I am. Like I've already said, I'm doing FemShep, I'm doing Renegades, I'm doing leaving Liara in a trap bubble for an entire game on number 1, basically. Let her go crazy.
It's great. It's just good. It's nice. It's wholesome. It's positive. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really looking forward to our conversations. We talked about this when I was streaming Among Us, and by streaming Among Us, like I use that term very tenuously. I was dead most of the time.
You were going mentally and crazy.
While I was listening to my friends do an Among Us podcast. Like we talked about it. Like I am really looking forward to our conversations about Mass Effect. I would like to get out of this box that people have put me in, which is Amy hates Mass Effect 3. Where it's just like, I don't. There are problems. I'm a fucking game critic, you jackasses. If I see problems, I talk about them. But
even if you were a game critic, you still have problems with the game. You're allowed to have problems, ladies and gentlemen. Like I'll say this right now. When me and Amy have our discussion, our reviews about this, our retrospective, it ain't going to be a debate to see who's right and who's wrong. It's just going to be a discussion.
Like,
and we are more excited about that.
I don't want to debate you. Like,
we're not there to do it.
I'm like, or anyone. Like, I'm just talking in general to the camera at this point. Like, I don't want to debate you about any aspect of anything, but like in specific in this point, like Mass Effect 3. I have opinions about Mass Effect 3. I'm looking forward to sharing them and then never having to do it again. It's that simple. And maybe I'll turn comments off on that retrospective video. Because I don't want to hear it.
I can understand that.
It's Death Stranding all over again. Like, but I guess Mass Effect 3 technically came first. Like, for years, there's people who are just like, oh, you hated it. It's like, no, I didn't. Nuance exists. Nuances exists. Like, I'm trying to remember like specific. I'm trying to remember specific things about it. And it's like, no. I'm going in like trying. Like, I just want to experience what I experienced because I found some stuff that I forgot in Mass Effect 1. Which was nice.
Well, let's talk about one of our friends, Elfie's favorite games of 2021. Amy.
Valheim sells 6.8 million copies, expected to shift another million by July. This is from Emma Kent over at Eurogamer, who writes, it's been a while since we checked in on Valheim's sales figures. The game exploded out of nowhere in February, managing to shift a staggering 4 million copies in only 3 weeks, and reaching the 5 million milestone in March. Well, now we have an update, as publisher Embracer Group has released its full-year financial report. And yep, it looks like Valheim really helped boost those numbers. No kidding. According to the report, Valheim has now sold 6.8 million copies. Embracer Group doesn't think the success will stop there, however, and expects the game to sell an additional 1 million to 1.2 million copies by, quote, before the close of the current quarter ending in June, end quote. Along with the successes of Valheim, Embracer Group sold nearly 2 million copies of Road Sim SnowRunner, along with 2 million copies of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, over 1 million copies of Destroy All Humans. We don't need to read the rest, because I wanted this to be about Valheim, because I like to celebrate, like, success stories, and this is a big video game success story.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this since basically Elf talked about it on our review show. It's been silence for it, but they've literally potted on and accumulated 6.8 million copies sold, and they're going to hit probably expected to hit another million by the end of July.
So by the end of July, they're probably June. They're going to have about 8 million.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, those numbers are incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah,
like they're huge. Like, this is legitimately like one of the in the same vein as Among Us and Phasmophobia was last year. Of like, this is one of the breakout out of nowhere hits of 2021. Is it time that we check this out? Because I know you've got it.
Yeah, you would have to buy it. to play it together.
I mean, is the time one of us like tested the waters, just dipped a toe in a little bit, and just went,
I
"What's
think
this
to
all
do
about?"
it, I think it would be best to play together. I'm not gonna lie. I tried it by myself, and I was just like,
Okay, maybe not around. I've
Even
got a
Alpha
lot.
herself says she enjoys doing it with people.
Okay, well, between Mass Effect and Dishonored and Ratchet's coming out soon, we'll find some
There's
time.
plenty of time.
We've
Yeah,
got
there's
time. We'll find time.
like this game is all like
Still in early
it's
access. So.
yeah, it's early access. Like it's still got a way to go. So we can wait until we hear there's a huge upgrade where it's now in 4K.
Great. Just call Elfie and be like, "Can I borrow your monitor?" Oh wait, I don't have a 4K capable graphics card.
Yeah.
Is it coming to PS5? Which it will be.
I'm not gonna lie. I wonder if we'll hear something at one of the it's Microsoft. Microsoft will jump all over this.
Someone's jumped on this. Someone has to have jumped on this by
Microsoft.
By E3. Like we've seen it with almost every breakout indie hit, right? PUBG, even going back to like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which was like a huge grab for Microsoft. Back in 2017, 2018. And like Among Us, for example, where it's just like out of nowhere. It was like, hey, Among Us is coming to Game Pass and it's going to be on Xbox. Like, holy shit. Like, what? And then you even gone further and being like, it's coming to PlayStation and it's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, there's one of those two console manufacturers, or both, maybe, even both, potentially, will be trying to jump on the Valheim train.
Agreed.
I'm not bothered about the next one, so I'll skip it. Warner Brothers Interactive will reportedly be split up following merger. This is from Andy Chalk over at PC Gamer, who writes, AT&T announced that it will spin off Warner Media and merge it with Discovery in a $43 billion deal that will result in the creation of a new premier standalone global entertainment company that will compete with the likes of Netflix and Disney+. Yeah, good luck with that. According to IGN, the deal will affect the video game scene too. Most of IGN's overview focuses on the video aspect of the deal, but AT&T also told the site that part of Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, but not all of it, will be sold off. No details were provided on how the company will be split, but WBI is itself the parent company of roughly a dozen studios, including NetherRealm, Monolith, Avalanche, Rocksteady, TT Games, Playdemic, and WB Game Studios in San Diego, Boston, Montreal, San Francisco, and New York. Some of those studios and the games they work on, Mortal Kombat, Middle-earth, Shadow of War, Batman, Arkham, and Lego, to name a handful, quote, will stay with AT&T and some will go with a new company, end quote, a rep told Axios reporter Sarah Fisher. It's impossible to say what sort of effect the change will have on individual games or studios, although my guess is that the biggest of the bunch, like Mortal Kombat, probably won't pivot in any noticeable way immediately. A less obvious question is who will get control of the famed Nemesis system that Warner filed a patent for in 2015 and what they'll do with it. The Warner Media Discovery merger obviously goes way beyond WBI itself, but the game publisher has been on at least one other bargaining table recently. Rumors emerged in July 2020 that AT&T was looking to offload them for $4 billion, with Microsoft pegged as a possible buyer. A month later, however, AT&T seemingly changed its mind. Oh, I held that in. I held that in for like the entire last paragraph.
I can see some companies getting their checkbook out again.
It depends how this is going to break out, right?
Yeah, that's true. But there's no doubt about it. I can see some of them getting picked up easily. It all like what you said. It is all dependent. It all depends on what this what did it say at the end there? Separation in it.
Yeah. So essentially, it's going to be split up, right? So like this, essentially, imagine like it's snapped in half, and we don't really know what's going to stay with AT&T and what's going to go to the new company. If I had to speculate, reading the quote at the very top of the article, result in the creation of a new premier standalone global entertainment company that will compete with the likes of Netflix and Disney+. If I had to speculate, to me that sounds like some of the bigger license stuff will be going to this new premier entertainment company. So you things like maybe your DC stuff, potentially, or the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah.
And then like original stuff, maybe like Mortal Kombat, for example, would stay. But it's very tricky to sort of figure out.
Yeah, very tricky indeed. Like I think a lot of people like the words for like a lot of people. What's happening with Gotham Knights now? What's happening with Suicide Squad now? It all really depends on like where it all lands and everything. Like one of AT&T, like the reason the AT&T, like so if no one knew, they're doing this is because one, they want to get into the streaming service, which is the more lucrative streaming. It's more lucrative, especially with what Netflix and Disney Plus are doing right now. But on top of that, they are over $150 billion in debt.
Yeah,
and they want to fuck it down.
Yes, they have a lot of debt. I remember that from last year.
Like this is the thing about they trying to get rid of their debt, so they're in the more position like Disney are, unlike Netflix, who are basically barely breaking even in Netflix. They keep throwing money out all the time, but they barely break even. Disney do nothing but break even when it comes to Disney Plus, and they're going to constantly do that even more when more subscribers, even more. So, yeah, it's a fascinating thing to see what's going to happen here. All the people at the studios, I hope all things go well for you, so that you either, if your company is picked up, you're looked after and everything like that by whatever studio company buys you, if anyone does buy you. And good luck.
Good luck. Hopefully everything will be fine for everybody involved.
I'm sure it will be.
One more news story, and then we're going to skip to the games out next week. New TimeSplitters game officially in development as Free Radical Design reforms. This is from Brian Shea over at Game Informer, who writes, publisher Deep Silver has announced the reformation of TimeSplitters developer Free Radical Design. Not only that, but the studio's first order of business is reviving the long-dormant shooter franchise. While the only action the series has seen in a long time came in the form of secret playable levels from TimeSplitters 2 and Homefront: The Revolution, the franchise hasn't seen a proper new release since 2005's TimeSplitters Feature Perfect. That changes now as Deep Silver has announced that development is officially underway for a new TimeSplitters game. The new version of Free Radical Design features key members of the original team, including founders Steve Ellis and David Doak, both of whom also worked on beloved games like GoldenEye 007 and Perfect Dark while at Rare. The original studio was purchased by Crytek and rebranded as Crytek UK in 2009, but was shut down in 2014, with much of the staff transferring to the then newly formed Homefront: The Revolution developer Deep Silver Downbuster Studio. In 2018, Deep Silver owners Cork Media purchased the TimeSplitters IP, making Free Radical Design a Deep Silver studio. Now the Reformed Studios members hope to capitalize upon the 22 years of history and return to the team's roots with a new TimeSplitters game. And then the quotes, I'm not going to bother. TimeSplitters is coming back.
Probably.
I knew nothing of this until it was shared in our group chat. So I don't even think it was you that shared it. Like, I mean,
no,
you are basically Mr. Link Sharer in our group chat. It's great. I love it because you keep me on the ball with so many things. You just dropping links left, right, and center. But then, like,
It was Keith.
Yeah, I saw it, and then I was like, oh, cool. And then it was like hours and hours later when I realized it. Wait, Moody didn't send that. It's cool. Like, it's weird. I never really had an affiliation with TimeSplitters. Back in the day, because I didn't really have a PS2. Like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, like they were my jam for like multiplayer first-person shooters back in the day, way back in the day. But TimeSplitters wasn't a thing I could get into, even though I was excited. I wished I could get into it at the time because I knew it was being developed by like the founders of the company worked on games that I loved, but it was just a case of not having the right platform to play it.
Yeah.
So this is intriguing. I'm looking forward.
I remember TimeSplitters more as an arcade game for me, like at the arcades when I'm out with my friends, when I was out with my friends, playing it with the plastic guns and everything like that. That's what I remember. That's probably the more fun I had for it. When it came to like consoles, I barely touched it. I don't even think I ever touched it on a console. So,
I think you're thinking of Time Crisis.
Am I? I thought it was both. Both.
Time Crisis was like the light gun game. I did play a lot of Time Crisis because Keith had it on his Saturn, I want to say, and he had the light guns.
And I have zero affiliation to this franchise whatsoever,
No.
and I have no idea what it is.
TimeSplitters was like the first-person shooter on PlayStation 2. I honestly, hey, I knew people who like really loved it, because like they used to try and argue that PlayStation was better than like GameCube or Xbox, like proper console fanboys. And I just tried not to get involved with that. But they like one of the things they used to chat about was how great TimeSplitters was. And I was out here playing Resident Evil on my GameCube, like, yeah, this is awesome. Who needs console wars?
Yeah, I have no idea what this game is. I thought it was that. So I got myself completely
No, that's
mixed
fine.
up there.
That's fine.
So yeah, no affiliation. I'm happy for anybody who really loves this franchise and everything like that. So fantastic, more gamers getting to play something that they really love. Like I've just got that with Mass Effect, so yeah, more happiness.
I got it with Nia, right?
Yes, you did.
So, and this
when
is a
Bloodborne
brand.
2 was announced.
Oh, fucking hell! I'm gonna die.
Amy might die, Liz.
I'm gonna die.
Two deaths will happen that day: Amy and Joseph Moran.
The last thing we'll do is we'll both like tweet each other as we're on the way to the ground. Just like, we did it. Oh no, I'm dying. Yeah, it's cool. Like the TimeSplitters game is gonna be like a new game, so that's even cooler.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for games out next week. So let's get into it. It is time to talk about some video games. First one is Biomutant. At long last, PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox. It is an open-world post-apocalyptic kung fu fable RPG with a unique martial arts-style combat system allowing you to mix melee shooting and mutant ability action. King of Seas, PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. It is an action role-playing game set in a pirate world. An epic adventure awaits you in a fantasy world dotted with fights, lost islands, and treasures. A universe that will keep you anchored as you struggle to become the king of all pirates. Wait, that's One Piece. But I can't wait for King of the Seas. Like, I'm a huge fan of Team 17, ladies and gentlemen. Go and give these guys the love. Give them some love and give this game a chance. I think this looks absolutely brilliant. Then you've got What the hell is this game? Shin Mega Man Tensei 3rd Noctution HD Remastered. I think I butchered that. I know I've butchered it. I apologize. It's coming to PC, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. Reawaken your inner demon in a modernized version of the acclaimed Atlas classic.
I think you might have just heard me laughing there.
Name me, because I think I butchered it. Can you re-say that name for me? The title of this game.
Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster.
Thank you very much, because I did not say that at all. I butchered the poor game.
That's what I heard. I sat down and I put my headphones on and I heard you say that. And I think you might just hear me laugh, like, on the podcast.
Totally. Also, shout out King of Seas, Amy. Team 17 looks sexy. I can't wait for that. Waving Tides, PC, Nintendo Switch. Dive into the magical woven world on the back of your own carpet dragon. Carpet dragon? Okay. Explore the textured landscape, solve puzzles, challenge the quirky creatures, and unravel the great mysteries of the long-forgotten past of the Weaving Tides. That sounds so bonkers. I love the sound of it. Just like Carpet Dragon.
Carpet Dragons?
Bonkers.
I'm looking right now.
Earth Defense Force World Brothers. PC, PlayStation 4, and a Nintendo Switch. A new EDF adventure begins. Only this time, the action unfolds in a parallel world where the Earth is made of digital blocks. This world has befallen into chaos. Sounds like what it is now, but whatever. As the world peacefully squares Earth, it has been shattered into pieces. Shape aside, it is an Earth, nevertheless, which needs to be defended. All right. Warhammer Age of Stigma, Stormground, PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. The first strategy video game adaptation of Age of Stigma's dark fantasy universe. Need your highly accustomable force and unlock new units, equipment, and skills in a dynamic turn-based game packed with fast-paced warfare. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, World's End Club, the Nintendo Switch. The Go-Getters Club, a group of misfit students from all over Japan, should I say, find themselves trapped in a strange theme park during a class trip. In order to unravel the mystery of their circumstances and find an escape, they must take part in a game of fate that will test their bonds of friendship with colorful visuals, charming characters, accessible gameplay, and a compelling story. This is an experience you will never forget. Not a single game is coming to the next gen consoles.
I mean, backwards compatibility, right?
I know that, yeah, but like none of them are like getting built to be going to those. That's what I mean.
I
I'm
don't
not
mean
saying it's a bad thing.
I don't mean to disparage any of the games, but like, there's no big games on next week's list. Like, there's no like AAA games.
Yeah, like we've been waiting for Biomutant for like what feels like 10 years. I know that's not hyperbole there, but I feel like that game was literally talked about in like 2013 when PlayStation 3 came out and the Xbox One came out.
Mutant reveal. Let's see if I can find out when it was revealed. Development. Establishment. Just cause. On August 19th of August 2017, an advertisement in the German gaming magazine Games Market revealed the existence of the game, dubbing it as a post-apocalyptic kung fu fable before being fully announced on the 21st of August, so like 2017. So like, yeah, it was. I mean, that's still a pretty long time ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
But yeah, cool.
It's here, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
daily here. Let's move on to OpenCritic head-to-head. This is the game myself and Moody play every single week, where we try to guess the OpenCritic average of one upcoming game. Whoever guesses closest to the score gets 1 point. If you manage to guess the score correctly, you get 2 points. Last week, we decided to try and guess the OpenCritic average of Knockout City, which comes out today. If you're listening to this podcast when it releases. As I found out going on OpenCritic, the review embargo is also today. So the reviews haven't been published yet as we're recording this because the embargo is on launch day. So I guessed it would get a 69 because I'm incredibly mature. And Moody guessed it would get a 65, and we'll find out what the results of that were next week.
It tells me all I needed to know, that they aren't allowing the reviews to drop until this game properly releases. So that tells me
it's an online multiplayer game, so like even if review embargo was like Tuesday, I doubt many reviews would go fully live before the servers were turned on, because that's not a thing reviewers do anymore. Thank fucking God. Yeah, I don't really pay that much attention to review embargoes, like pointing towards quality of games. Because we were all worried about Doom 2016 because the review embargo, like they didn't send review copies out, and then it turned out it was excellent.
It came out literally days later, not even days later, that they did that on purpose. Bioware were just said you can't do it. But they sent the games out with a review when the game was about to come out. So
yeah.
I understand. Oh, I agree with that. I understand where you're saying that it could mean anything. I know that. I agree with you there.
It could mean anything or nothing.
Yeah.
This week, we are going to try and guess the OpenCritic average of Biomutant, the game we just discussed.
Biomutant.
What are you thinking, Rudy? Oh. You can see
84.
he's thinking. 84, did you just say? He's thinking a lot about that. Like, he was, like, for anyone who's listening to this as an audio podcast and not watching, like, he was making all the faces. Like, it was really, really stretching it. Yeah, he's still doing it. It's not awkward. I'm gonna guess a 73. And that is OpenCritic head-to-head. The current scores are Amy 6, Mooney 9, Fox 3, Keith 10 with 2 draws. But they didn't change from last week, so. Next week, hopefully
I think I can get 2 points for Mass Effect because it's now 90 now.
No. Hopefully, you didn't even say 90, you said 91.
No, I said 90.
Did you?
Yeah.
Got a 91.
Yeah.
I'm still not giving you.
Cool.
That's not how the Force works.
That's how the Force works, isn't it? Ooh,
Hopefully next week I'll get 4 points and be ahead of you and be like, but it's probably not going to happen because I'm sick at this game. That's going to do it for episode 257 of the Words About Games podcast. Pretty much bang on time.
I know. That's impressive for us.
I know, right?
Very impressive for us.
I'm getting better.
We are getting better.
And on that bombshell, I have human colonies to save from the collectors, so I want to get out of here.
I have a bed to get to. I'm knackered, I won't lie. I'm pooped.
Fair enough. Well, in that case...
The brain is what it used to be.
Well, in that case, I guess the only thing left to do is say bye, Moody.
Bye, Moody.